Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a pretty wild idea that every single time you ask an AI for help, you're not just using some new tool. You might actually be rewiring the very way your own mind works. So, picture this. You're facing a really tough question. What's your first move? Do you lean back, and really wrestle with the problem yourself? Or is your gut reaction now to just open a new tab and ask an AI? This choice, which feels so simple, is actually at the very center of a massive shift in how we think.
And that's really the big question here, the one at the heart of some fascinating new research. It suggests that our relationship with AI is way more complicated than we think. It's not just a tool, it's almost like it's carving out a whole new pathway in our minds.
Okay, so to really get a handle on what's changing, we've got to do a quick refresh on the classic map of the human mind, the one that's pretty much dominated psychology for decades.
Right. This is the dual process model, which Daniel Kahneman made famous. You've got System 1, that's your gut reaction, the instant, automatic feeling. And then there's System 2, that's the slow, effortful, analytical thinking you use to solve a tough math problem. Pretty simple, right?
Well, here's the catch. That whole model was built on one massive assumption, that all of our thinking happens inside our own skulls. But as we all know, that's just not true anymore. A huge chunk of our thinking now happens out there, in the cloud.
And that brings us to a major update to our cognitive map, proposed by researchers Stephen Shaw and Gideon Nav. They argue that we have to make room for a powerful new player on the field.
They're calling it System 3, Artificial Cognition. And listen, this isn't just a fancy calculator that you use with your logical system 2. They're arguing it acts as a totally separate cognitive system that we can tap into directly.
All right, let's break down this diagram. I know it looks a little complex, but the really important part is what's happening on the outside. Up top, inside that brain boundary, you see our old friends System 1 and 2. But look at the bottom. That's the external System 3. Now follow the arrows. Sure, it can feed information into our slow, logical System 2. We expect that. But here's the absolute game changer. It can also create a direct shortcut to our fast, intuitive System 1, completely bypassing our careful, critical thinking.
And this creates a huge fork in the road. An AI can either supplement our thinking, help it along, or it can completely supplant it, take over. And when an AI's answer comes back fast, sounds super fluent and authoritative, well, it's really tempting to just let it do all the thinking for us. And this leads to a brand new behavior.
So what happens when we're tempted to just let the AI take the wheel? The researchers have a name for it, and it's pretty stark: the rise of cognitive surrender.
This is so much more than just getting a little help. We're talking about a full handover. It's that moment where you stop trying to build an answer yourself and you just adopt the one the machine spit out.
The difference here is absolutely crucial. Think of it this way. Cognitive offloading is strategic. It's like using a calculator when you're doing your taxes. You're still in charge. But cognitive surrender? That's asking the calculator for the answer and just writing it down without even checking if you were supposed to be adding or subtracting in the first place.
Okay, so it's a powerful theory. But is this actually happening in the real world? Well, to find out, the researchers designed a really clever experiment. They gave people these tricky logic puzzles, the kind that are specifically designed to fool your fast, intuitive System 1. Participants could choose to use an AI assistant for help, but here was the secret twist. Half the time, the AI was programmed to give the correct, logical answer, and the other half, it was designed to give the common, but totally wrong, intuitive answer. And the results were just staggering. Let's walk through this chart. That first bar, that's the baseline. On their own, with just their brains, people got the answer right about 46% of the time. Now let's see what happens when we bring in the AI. When the AI gave the correct answer, performance shot through the roof. We're talking a massive 25 percentage point jump all the way up to 71% accuracy. So yeah, when it's right, AI is an incredibly powerful assistant. But here it is. This is the critical finding. When the AI was wrong, people's accuracy just plummeted. It dropped 15 points below their own baseline. Let that sink in. They didn't just fail to catch the AI's error. The AI actively made them worse at the task. That is the smoking gun for cognitive surrender. And get this. Even though the AI was literally wrong half the time, just having it there made people significantly more confident in their answers. So people were surrendering their judgment, getting more answers wrong, and feeling better about it.
But the study didn't stop there.
It went a step further and asked a really important question. Is everyone equally likely to just hand over their thinking to a machine? And the answer was a very clear no.
This chart is brilliant because it breaks down exactly who is most likely to surrender. So for each of these 3 sections, I want you to look at that AI faulty bar. That shows us how well people did when the AI was feeding them bad info, and it's broken down by 3 different psychological traits. We're looking for the biggest performance gaps.
And the patterns were crystal clear. First, people who started with a higher trust in AI, well, they were way more vulnerable to its mistakes. But on the flip side, 2 traits acted like a protective shield. The first was having a high need for cognition. That's just a measure of how much someone actually enjoys thinking hard about stuff. And the second was high fluid intelligence, your raw ability to reason and solve new problems on the fly.
So let's pull back and look at the big picture. What does all of this actually mean for us as we try to navigate a world that is just saturated with AI?
What this research is really telling us is that we're not just adopting a new tool, we're integrating a whole new cognitive system into our lives. And that raises some really profound questions about our own intellectual independence, our skills, and maybe even our sense of who we are.
And that leaves us with the critical question of our time. As we outsource more and more of our thinking, who's responsible when things go wrong? Is it you for uncritically accepting the answer? Is it the developer who built the flawed AI? Or is it somehow the algorithm itself? There's no easy answer here, but it's the central challenge we're all going to face in this new age of fast, slow, and artificial thinking.